to speak on a crime that has taken place between Carlos Perez and the Miller's family, in which his wife was killed. The mother of his wife is now looking for Carlos to receive some consequences. We will be presented with evidence from the crime as well as an analysis brought by a forensic psychologist in which she discusses alcohol, his violence, his remorse that was shown after the violent crime, if this crime was premeditated or not, as well as the concept of the mens rea. Also, his diseases that have been brought together with alcoholism and PTSD will also be addressed. In looking at the Journal of Criminal Law and Criminology by David Lester and Jean Lester, in which they focus on the whole situation and also the characteristics of the crime, not just what has taken place. Order, order, order. Case 54209. Carlos Perez versus the Miller's family. Before we begin, do we have any opening statements in the court?
Yes.
Prosecutor Tucker, you have the floor.
Today, ladies and gentlemen, the jury, the Miller's family, today we have a cold-blooded killer.
I killer, man!
Subject. Prosecutor, with your opening statement, you have to be more sensitive and watch your vocabulary.
I'm sorry, Judge McGraw. Today, we have a man who committed a crime, a heinous crime, I might add, in which he took the life of a young newlywed while they were sleeping. Now, I believe this man should pay the price for taking the life of such a beautiful young lady, such a young, vibrant life. And today, I will give you my reasons why.
Thank you, prosecutor. Forensic psychologist Koalik, is there anything you would like to add?
Yes. So, recently I have analyzed Carlos's situation. And yes, we know he committed the crime. But do we know why and what is truly going on in this situation? So we are here to look at the situation, analyze it, and come up with other options for treatment.
Thank you. So we will call Carlos Perez to the stand.
Yes, I would like to call Carlos Perez to the stand. Good evening, Mr. Perez.
Good evening.
First, I would like to ask, what were you thinking on the night of April 17th, approximately 9:30 p.m.?
I wasn't thinking at all. My wife and I, we go to bed around that time. So, man, it's just unfortunate what happened.
You used the term, unfortunate what happened. But were you not the one who caused this to happen?
Yes.
So, how can you regret something happening if you're the one that did it?
I didn't mean to.
What do you mean you didn't mean to?
Well, I'm a veteran and I was sleeping with my wife. And I guess it was a thunderstorm or something and it set me off and I thought I was in combat. Then I rolled over and I started strangling my wife. And she was dead.
You said you thought you were in combat.
Yes.
How many years did you serve in Combat.
8. 2 terms, sir.
So, after you rolled over after hearing this loud noise and put your hands on your wife, do you remember anything after that?
No, I blacked out.
Blacked out. So, eventually you had to wake up from this blacking out. What was the first thing you remember after you blacked out?
Well, I woke up and I was extremely scared. I noticed my wife was dead, and there was blood all over my hands. I was just so scared. I knew what I've done.
So you knew you had killed her when you woke up.
Yes, there was no one else in the house.
And so you just woke up and realized you killed her. Did you try to hide the body? You didn't notify anybody?
As soon as I saw her dead, I grabbed my cell phone and called the police and told them what I've done.
So do you feel any remorse after this act?
She's my wife, man. I love her. What do you think?
Usually people who love their wives don't kill them. Killer.
Object.
I apologize.
Prosecutor, your questions.
I got you. I'm sorry, Judge. So,
I loved her, man.
So, let's go back to this blacking out. So you claim you heard a loud noise, and then you just forgot you were in bed with your wife. Is that right?
That is correct.
So, strangling someone takes a long time to kill them. This whole time you had no clue that you were strangling your own wife.
I have no idea, sir.
Sounds a little sketchy to me. Is this the first time this violent act has occurred in your lifetime?
No, it's not. It's not the first time.
Not the first time.
No.
Repeated offender. So, describe to me what happened the first time you had this kind of violent act.
Well, I was at the bar with my brother, and it was just a normal day. It was just drinking, hanging out, and I think it was someone shattered a bottle or something like that, and I blacked out again, and then when I regained consciousness, I was on top of a guy and he was bleeding from his face, and my brother escorted me out, and that's not something I would do. That's out of my character. So I decided to tell my wife about it. The only person I trusted. And then she told me to get checked out. And then ever since then I've been diagnosed with PTSD.
So you're currently diagnosed with PTSD. Did you ever think that it was an unsafe environment for you being in a household with your wife, knowing you had such symptoms?
Yes, but she's my wife and we made a commitment to one another. And I just can't even think about ever doing something like that to someone I love.
But you did do that to someone you love. You killed her. You killed her, Carlos.
Object. Prosecutor, you have one more time. Sensitivity. Watch your words.
So, during this time that you guys lived together, did you ever come close to harming your wife as a result of the PTSD symptoms?
I did not. I actually resorted to drinking due to my PTSD. And my wife was again concerned for my well-being. And maybe lay off it a little bit, but I found it quite challenging to do so. So I just couldn't stop drinking.
Okay, so when you would have these flashbacks of the war due to your PTSD, you would resort to alcohol. That was your remedy for all this.
That is correct, sir.
Okay, that'll be all. I have no further questions at this time. Now, I call up forensic psychologist Kelsey Kowalik to the stand. Hello, Dr. Kowalik.
Hello.
I see that you have been studying and analyzing the situation. So, is it true that this kind of reaction could be a sign of PTSD or a symptom of PTSD?
Yes, it is very obvious that it is a sign of PTSD. As Carlos has stated, he has blacked out. He does not remember every action that occurred. It's happened more than once when loud bangs occur. And he states that he feels like he's back in combat when these noises occur.
So, Dr. Kowalik, do you deem it possible that someone under his condition could black out for long enough that they could strangle somebody and take their life?
It is very possible. Carlos obviously has already been diagnosed with PTSD, and some diagnoses under PTSD involve flashbacks, fear, and agitation. And with PTSD comes nightmares, and this is clearly what has happened in this situation. A nightmare had occurred, and he heard thunder, which triggered in his brain the flashback going back to combat, where he had to survive for his life when he was fighting.
I see. So, when he was strangling his wife, are you saying that he no longer was aware that it was his wife who was in bed with him?
Correct.
Okay. So, he mentioned alcohol when he was just on the stand. Is this another symptom for people with PTSD? Do they usually go towards substances that can make them forget about their past?
It is very common for veterans to resort to drinking to cope with a lot of their fears. And coming back into society, it's easy for them to drink and numb the feeling of either the anxiety of coming back home or still trying to figure out how to get rid of all the thoughts and things that they have in their head from what they saw in war.
Okay. Do you think that this alcoholism, if I may say that, had played any part in this aggression he showed towards his wife that night?
It could have had some. Yes, the alcohol that night could have played a part with the PTSD and the alcohol. Alcohol is in his family though, so there is a long line of alcoholism, which is very prevalent.
So alcoholism could play a part. Now, alcoholism.
There are different kinds of treatments, and the most common one are AA meetings where it's Alcoholic Anonymous. And you go to these different meetings and you are joined with others who are suffering from alcohol as well, and you go through a 12-step program. Or there's more rigorous ones where you actually go away to a recovery center for a period of time.
Okay, but Dr. Kowalik, what about the PTSD, which is the reason why he strangled his wife?
Well, it's obvious that Carlos is still struggling from PTSD, so it would be also beneficial for him to get help for that too.
So you don't recommend jail time for this murderer?
I do not. I think Carlos needs very tough help.
You don't believe that this murderer deserves any jail time?
I believe
Object. Prosecutor, we've
I'm
talked
sorry.
about the words you choose.
you don't believe that this man deserves any jail time for his offense.
I believe that Carlos should pay time, but in an inpatient recovery center. He needs extreme help with his PTSD because it's obviously really hurting his life, and he has taken his wife because of it. And he also needs help with the alcohol abuse.
So, when he ended up strangling his wife that night, you're saying the loud noise is what triggered this impulsive reaction. You don't think that he planned to do this, or was there any animosity between him and his wife? You don't think that this was planned?
This was not a premeditated crime. There was no planning before or after. And when he woke up the next morning and realized what had happened, he called the police right away. So he did not mean to kill his wife, and he did not do it on purpose.
Okay, no further questions, Your Honor.
So if we look at the whole situation, we can see that Carlos is very remorseful for what he has done. And even though this has been a violent crime, it was not premeditated. So when we take into account the mens rea, he did not premeditate this. He did not mean for this to happen. The outcome for his life was not looking like this when he would think about it. So when to account the whole situation, we have to look at his mental state and make sure that that gets help.
Okay, so you brought up this concept of the mens rea. I'm not too familiar with the concept. Does that just mean his thought process behind his actions?
Yes, exactly.
And you think he didn't purposefully mean to do this crime?
Yes, he has stated before that that's out of his character for him to do that. He would never do something like that.
So you think the crime happened solely because of that loud noise he heard that triggered the memory of the war?
Yes, it brought him back to a terrible time in his life.
No further questions, Your Honor.
We will now take a recess as we wait for the jury to present us with their verdict.